So for for today, we have to wrap it up before 4 o'clock. I know some of you are very curious about our next steps, and some of you have had another catch up with me end of last year. We already came up with some actually interesting ideas, and one thing I bear in mind is the discussion I think raised by Jack about having a shared document. So for people who want to get more involved in AD, has a kind of guidelines or kind of reference point. That's one of the takeaway from our last catch up. But if there are more, please let me know. I think Kali and Shiraz, you were also part of our last catch up end of last year. So that's for me quite an important point from our last conversation. And for today, I want to ask if especially Jack, Carly, Sarah, and Hani, did you have any opportunity to go through our shared documents?
Very quickly, yeah.
Yeah. The one about the vision for the future, the one? Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't have a chance. I was in Rotterdam, and I came back I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I haven't. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I was able to go through it at a high level. I know there is some more granular, more finer levels of detail, things around like timeline, that maybe weren't in it, but in general, it was clear.
Yeah, it's version 1, so it's nice if you can just build on this. These are just some issues, some themes that are very dominant in our activities, and
so maybe instead of going through a document or talking point by point, we don't do that. We just want to kind of share what are the key points. And I want to start, and for sure you can add the other points. I think what's very important for us to have this document and to talk to you is to mark this very moment and look back at the last decade, say, hey, we've done something. And I think we use the word proof of concept in this document. The past 10 years for us was a period of experimentation and learning, and without a very structural approach.
Oh, well, I think we also had just a lot of questions, and noticed that in these 10 years we had an idea how things can go, but there are always themes that seem to come back every time, like we mentioned, innovation, and what is sustainability, what is architecture, what are the opportunities on global and local level. These are repeating themes, and we try to put them in a document and see how we can use it, because they have all four, they are interrelated. So it is nice if we can bring that to one very clear communication at a certain level.
I think there are two different types of ideas and content we're talking about. I think on the one hand is the more philosophical side of ideas and actions and thoughts that we've generated throughout the years. But the other side becomes more and more important for us is that strategic communication towards partners. And I think in the document we did highlight it in the project plan. So we actually also share the project plan with you guys. We had this 3 stakeholders group already from the beginning. So if you don't know, I can emphasize again. So the first stakeholder group is the communities with architectural ambitions, but they are still in need of support to realize their ambitions. That's stakeholder group 1, and very often stakeholder group 2, architects who are, collaborating with these communities. Actually, stakeholder group 2, it's slightly more complicated because we have architects that are interested in this field of collaborating with communities and helping them realize their architectural ambitions. Some of them are already collaborating and some of them are looking for opportunities. So that's the second stakeholder group. And the third stakeholder group, we call them professional organizations. And this part is also complicated. This part does not include just corporate foundations. Also, NGOs. One of our partners is Aga Khan Development Network. So it's an international, it's an institute, it's also an NGO. And basically, these are more professionally organized organizations who can offer extra resources and expertise in exchange of different social, cultural values. You want to?
Yeah, because it's actually, I have to admit that this second and the third stakeholder, they're always a little bit a point of discussion. The starting point was that the second stakeholder has very strong ambition to play a role, an active role in this do together practices, and the third stakeholder has other, let's say, goals like a company, but does underline the importance and wants to support the first two stakeholders. But this is something that we still are sharpening.
Yeah.
So actually we do not work every time, this is the second and the first and the third stakeholder, but it's more these are our stakeholders, and grouping them has always been a challenge.
Yeah, but I think I mentioned this and I tried to clarify our stakeholder groups because I was talking about these different types of ideas and content, and one side it's really more internal for us. We can keep sharing we can philosophize, we can deepen our theories of change. But on the other hand, there are different types of stakeholders that we need to communicate more effectively. And that part demands us to also pay more attention to research. And I think we address that in this shared document as well. If you just, I don't want to share screen and look at the points, so we'll just do a little bit like putting the ideas on the table, and after the meeting, if you are interested and you want to reflect on these points, please go to the document and share with us your thoughts. So for the next 3 years, okay, can I finish this line? So for the next 3 years, that the document is about, that the main focus will be on this do it together narrative and the do it together infrastructure. And that infrastructure is to facilitate more practices. So if you want to go to the document, you will see these two main components. So, Hani, please.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be helpful, but first, congrats. This is really good. Thank you for sharing this. It's nice to see it's coming along in this way. It looks really good. The question I was going to say, I think I really like your breakdown of the stakeholders. I think that's really useful, and having sort of subgroups within architecture professionals is quite interesting. And maybe there could be you kind of starting to do that with professional organizations when you think about strategic and local partners. Communities is a bit more difficult to put into brackets because obviously it's such a big group. I'm just wondering if there is, and again, because this is my first time like looking at this properly, is there do you take these categorizations further? So when you think about like what each project that you're doing, whether it's the global challenge or whether it's the other sort of parts of the operation, how deeply do you then consider which state, like, do you use that as a way to navigate what projects you're doing and who it's speaking to? So you can say for when we talk to stakeholders, to talk to architectural professionals, we're using the global challenge. But then that also speaks to communities, and then professional organizations are brought in this way of form. And then in a way you have possibly 3 or however many project streams that could be defined as being specifically targeting one of these stakeholders, not necessarily at the cost of excluding others, but I think, I don't know, I'm just thinking about this is like, you've set this up. Is it going to be a way to break things into?
Well,
yeah.
Well, actually, there are, yes, that's the short version. From the beginning, our website is already divided in, let's say, stages for 3 specific stakeholders. So we have the project pages, for example, where that gives an opportunity to tell more about the community's ambitions and aspirations. We have profile pages for certain stakeholders, the second one. And we're always busy in finding ways to, for example, find ways to have more exposure for the third stakeholder. So we're always busy to see how can we organize our website in a way that all stakeholders can have a certain added value in participating. But the fact that we're still sharpening this part is also that if we want to go to achieve this ambition to really scale up, it needs to be very sharp. If we want to investigate or research, for example, new business models, then we really need to know what are the added values of the different stakeholders to see how you can put them in certain mechanisms that they can contribute to each other in a way that it works. So for us, it's very important to keep on developing that part.
Jack, I also want to add something more. In the document and also in the project plan we share with you, I think we already realized that. And what we are trying to do is that what Rob said, online tool, website as a tool, as a communication channel, is actually not enough. Online meetings also not enough. So what we want to do is also to mobilize more events. So bring these stakeholders together. So it's not only via online, via our website, via our programs. And the second thing is that research part, all these stakeholders, they have different motivations. They have different agendas. They have different ambitions. So what we want to do is also to show what are the stakeholder relations and the financing models, the business models of all these different practices. So here, research play an important part. So they, a lot of, especially for young architects, they are very interested, but they always say, I don't know if I can survive doing this way. These are very inspiring, but I'm afraid of doing this. For companies, they might also say, this is incredibly inspiring and interesting, but I'm not sure if this is worth my investing. So there are a lot of, different motives that we need to prove. So not just show us projects or share some nice videos, but we need to show through research what are the models of success.
Yeah,
so that's what I want to add.
Actually, even last week we had lots of discussion about what message fits which stakeholder. For example, the third stakeholder, mainly the corporate field, is much more busy with sustainability. But if you combine that with the challenges of communities, the first stakeholder, what will be the message to make clear that there is not so much difference in their ambitions? That sustainability it also has a dimension of, well, this is the complicated part, but working together with people on architecture projects is in a certain way a very sustainable way of making architecture. But what are the overlaps that is interesting? How can you communicate it? That, of course, communities, they are not busy with carbonization and this kind of topics.
There are two people raising hands. You need to
Okay,
stop.
I didn't hear it.
It doesn't recognize.
I'm very bad in these kind of screen discussions, but there were two hands I heard.
Yeah, here.
Okay,
Please
Jack,
go
Carly?
ahead.
Jack first.
Cheers. Yeah, I'll be quick, but even in the documents, with the new role of Sheffield School of Architecture and Architects Sans Frontiers, I think there's probably an opportunity to mirror or mimic the holacracy that Rob and Shangfang were talking about before in terms of a distributed agency. In other words, whenever we're, say, recommending architecture and development to someone, we're becoming single points of failure where we're basically becoming salespeople trying to share an idea that they don't know about, and they may take it, they may not. But there are some examples I was looking online. Like if you look at Architects Declare, they have an autonomous. They use a website as an autonomous engagement tool, where you, similar to the profiles of individuals like we have in the network part of the website, this is more for organizations. And you can see everyone else who is signed up, and there might be an opportunity where, even though you have the community side, the design and architectural practitioner side, even if it's not that formalized, and then you might have the more corporate organizational side. The academic side could be very valuable beyond organizing symposiums, and it takes a lot of energy and you have to get there. We can still do that, but a lot of research projects and grants are looking for essentially real world test beds to do real genuine engagement. They don't have the platform for this engagement, and maybe that's a way of it's essentially the most valuable thing about AD, which is that you can matchmake our network with those grants, for example, but they can't include AD if they don't know that AD exists. And and I see it happen a lot, even in more kind of technology oriented fields or domains. Somebody might have a service but not a use case, or vice versa. But this is essentially a matchmaking opportunity where they can actually build in AD to something that's already going in, and it would avoid these kind of single points of failure where it takes a lot of energy for something that may not come out. There's also existing networks that AD could also plug into. Like here, there's Lena, which is an initiative that is a part of Creative Europe, I believe. I'm open to correction, but you can member organizations rather than member individuals who might be part of an organization, but it's not actually the organization being part of it. And just very quickly, but lastly, even again, the New European Bauhaus, they have satellite festivals or events that, if there is something happening, it's their brand put in with it. And the value of a brand is that it can share whatever values are attached to that brand. And just in terms of engagement aspects, that can be very powerful, because then people can learn about AD, and it's just another model that AD can look at as well. That's just my 2 cents, but there's some links that might help.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks a lot, Jack. And indeed, over the years, you've shared these examples with us. And I think we are really at a better moment to really start to do this. As you know, only by running the Global Challenge program and maintaining the website, not saying maintaining, actually upgrading the website every time, it's very resource intensive. So we already stretched the Global Challenge into a biennial event instead of annual. It's not possible for us. We don't have so much capacity, and that really gives us more space. And with this plan of ambition is also to prepare us for a more structural approach you know, eventually we can stretch out more and get more involved in the network, as you suggest. Actually, we're busy with that already. We are now connecting, like we are discussing with Architecture Sans Frontières. We will have more collaboration with the Sheffield School of Architecture,
I think
joint grant, and we start to stretch now, and also to, you know, not as initiator of everything, but sometimes as co-producer, co-organizer, you know, to find out the space where we can. I'm also discussing with Aga Khan Development Network whether we can deepen this connection. So we are now also discussing different scenarios. Can we also, you know, have these collaborative efforts at Venice Biennale where Aga Khan, where us, where different universities can come together? So
that's why it's so nice that these do together as a narrative, but also as a call to action. It's quite neutral. And I think that's a very valuable position that we have. We have no political agenda. We have the only agenda that we have is to facilitate making places together. And that makes it more attractive for other organizations that do have agendas, for sure, to put partly their activities under an umbrella that we try to build. For example, the tool that we discussed. If we can make a tool, and that's also that's also what we discussed with Architecture Sans Frontières, is that they do have other agendas that do not match with ours, but they are focusing on making architecture possible, available. Oh, sorry, Carly, I almost.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, but
Continue your thought. Oh, yeah.
Almost. If we can bring these two together as a sort of umbrella, and make tools that can also be used by other networks without conflicting their agendas, then that's something that could be interesting. So if Architecture Frontières or other networks or universities, whatever, they can have profit by just using this sort of universal tool and connect to the right resources and other peers, then that could be interesting. So Carly.
Yeah, thanks. You know, put my hand down. Yeah, I just want to kind of clarify in my mind and maybe mirror back to you what I'm hearing and ask just a little clarifying question. But it sounds like, I mean, the objective is still clear, as it's always been, that architecture and development is trying to facilitate do it together community projects and trying to bring people together to have these discussions, to share challenges, to find ways to overcome them, to provide resources or connect, be kind of like a platform to connect all these resources together. And in various settings too, it sounds like in conferences and virtual settings and on the ground all over the world. I mean, that's all amazing. And is that, just before I ask a question, is that kind of where you're getting to or what you're explaining? I might have missed a little bit.
in terms of activities, yes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's connecting the dots globally. It's on one side, and I think we emphasized that before, that you see in the professional realm, you see that the dots are quite connected globally. But on the other hand, if it's the really existential dimension of architecture, it's completely disconnected. While it can be connected, there are resources, there are needs, there is a lot of information that can be connected and very useful for people that really do have architecture ambitions but not have the right resources or access to these resources. And this is something that we really want to do under this umbrella of Do It Together. And that's why it's an interesting call to action. It has no value in itself, only togetherness.
Can I just ask then, with that, that's super clear to me. Thank you. And yeah, I feel like I'm very much understanding the motivation, and I'm just curious if any residual framework from the past like the past global challenges or the way that the website is structured and the way that we've brought people together and kind of that ambassador spreadsheets and like the systems that were set up in the past kind of experimentally. I'm curious if you're thinking that some of those will carry over into this next season
Mm,
or if we start over.
no, but I'm thinking your question also in a practical way and also in a technical way. So practically, yes, we will carry on the global challenge format. So although it's stretched to 2 years, the basic format is the same. So we will still have call for submissions. We will have the jury process. We will have the accelerator and the jury process and accelerator. We will have to improve them, which is anyway what we do iteratively every time, improving this process. So for example, accelerator, this year we are going to develop 3 tracks. It's actually also a suggestion. Every year we learn from different feedback because projects are at different levels of development. So we will have like people who are at early phase, people who are, already ready for, we just have to define the different phasing and then group them into different tracks. So that will enable us to provide programs or activities and events that fit better with their current phase of development. So that's for example, that's one thing we will improve. And that's a practical side. Our practical side also still including that we would still like to mobilize more local ambassadors, and that's something we discussed, Carly, to organize local live events. So it's something that, again, I think we need to do a pilot, 2 pilots, to see how much resources and time we need before we can have a certain kind of better structured event format. But yeah, we want to deepen the engagement of our current ambassadors through these live events instead of only online. So live events eventually will be streamed and also will be recorded and shared online. But I think the combination of these live events and then online documentation is quite nice. Technically, yeah. Technically, it's quite a lot of job for us to improve our website, and we also have to consider the CRM, the customer relationship management. But I think that's something we have to ask for professionals. It's not something for us to.
But in big lines, there's not so much that will change. I think there's just that we try to find a way to a little bit to sharpen our activities, but also to frame that what we've done the last decade. How can we frame that in a way that we can? Well, that's why we frame it as a proof of concept. It's like we've done this as 2 persons with very limited resources for 10 years. So how can this grow if it's not led by 2 persons anymore? But if we completely restructure everything in different components, so we're just playing with these thoughts. It's a very classical organizations, 2 persons. So now and then we have a subsidy, we have some ideas, but we did also prove that something can happen, but not in this organizational model. There should be other models that, and that's for us very important. We are not typical stage people shouting that things should change. But for us, from this position, it's also very interesting to see it from a way that, well, from our position, we can also find ways that we facilitate other people in different contexts to stand up and to take lead of a certain project, but also bringing our mission further at the same time. So these are all kinds of pieces of the puzzle that we want to,
Yeah.
well,
But
connect.
actually, in very short line, I think we are talking about unconventional collaborations, and we are talking about new business models. And I think that also urges us to figure out a new organizational model. So, it's just an exciting journey looking forward, that talking about innovation is not about innovative technology. For us, is about innovating our organization and innovating the current operational models on site. It shouldn't be just, okay, we are doing a community project, so we know we are charity, or we are running completely voluntarily, or there are some typical models. They are working, yes, but there are also many new models that might work. So we want to, that's why that part, the research part, is for us an exciting part to really collaborate with Sheffield School and to talk about this more often, to inspire more younger minds, because at this symposium in Sheffield, it was kind of revealing that I think 90%, more than 90% of the students mainly think about the conventional practice because they see that as the only path. For the rest, there's no road. How can I build that road? You can struggle for 1 year, but a lot of people decided to go back to the conventional path. And also doing this doesn't mean that you're based in the UK and you have to go to Rwanda. It's not like that. I mean, there are so many different opportunities. So we want to break open the conventional ways of thinking. So we still have some time. So I think we talk enough in terms of catch up, and you don't need to address any question per se on what we discussed. Maybe you have whatever question out of the blue, it's completely fine. I mean, we are here, we are a nice small group. So about our ambition, you can refer to the document and also our project plan. So these are two different documents. Our project plan is, we put really quite some work there, and we just submitted the application, and in March, we have 2 deadlines for other funding applications. So we are in a fast trend of kind of building up the foundation for the coming 3 years. I think that's what we want to share today.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Or another question. My question is, what can we do to help? Like our group here on the call, how can we start, calling ourselves to action in this? I think we're all here because we believe in that mission, right?
So for today, I actually already picked up, Carly, you and Hani and Jack and Sarah. For sure, there's really some activities in terms of events, of program, of our website messaging, content-wise, communication-wise. For sure, we would love to get you involved. And it's just very hard for us to ask you anything concrete right now, as we still need to secure the funding. And I think even though you've all been sharing your volunteering hours, it's just, I think, more professional for us to really figure out a better system that of course sometimes we still need your volunteering time, but it shouldn't be only volunteering time. So
But
Hmm.
to answer Carly's questions, it's difficult. Actually, it's difficult to give you a very clear answer, but we want to open the discussion, and we want to share our ambitions for the coming years. And until now, we've done a lot of things ourselves, but we want to just open up a little bit more. If you can see, part of this 3-year ambition is that we want to become ourselves not necessarily engaged in this project. So we want to be exchangeable. I especially last year I got sick. I got this Lyme disease, and that also made much more clear how vulnerable an organization if it's led only by 2 persons. So if something happens to us, or we're older than we are now, and we cannot do this anymore, well, then it's nice that we have, at least we have considered ways that others can just grow this, because we really believe that it's necessary. It should.
Hmm.
yes,
I
Sarah.
think
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, thank you for sharing the documents, and I think it's all clear to us, you know, and we indeed share the ambitions and the vision that AD is presenting, and that's why we are all here. But going back to maybe Carly's question about how we can help, and about also the different organizational model can be adopted in order to facilitate that, and in order to engage kind of us also more and everything. I mean, like from my experience also in other organizations, there is a simple model that sometimes they work with, even if it is volunteering, what they call professional volunteering based organizations, which is like having a sort of program council or program board in which you have members, and these members, even though they might be the ones responsible for co-developing specific activities, specific programs, or things like that. But when it comes to execution and to actually work, then you are probably going to be relying on actual agencies or other bureaus that are going to be executing. So it is totally possible to kind of have this combo of volunteers plus professional help that is more punctual, I would say, like especially in a stage when an organization is not really able to have to recruit permanent staff or things like that. So this is usually something that organizations work with, or at least and it's pretty successfully, I should say, also. Yeah, so this might be a way to go about how we can maybe also implement or think in the future about different activities that would be carried out under the AD flag, so that's also to distribute, therefore. So if then a board member, I mean, I'm just saying that because you want to give names also to how and what kind of affiliation, or why are you doing this. But if you are doing it as part of a board, or as part of some executive team within AD, then you feel kind of a little bit more empowered to go ahead and organize some events in London or in Ireland or in Dubai or wherever you guys are based. So and still have the support of the founders, the AD founders, and also access to the resources that the network is providing when it comes to volunteering hours, but also maybe if there is budget to hire someone locally or anything like that to execute and to help with that. So I mean, like, this is kind of more of a brainwave kind of ideas. I'm not, really, these are not really structured or anything, but just sharing on this point.
Yeah, but this is actually also why this let's say this mapping these stakeholders is so very crucial, because they all have something that they can win in participating, and that, well, there are financially, for example, 2 issues: that there needs to be a model that supports the organization on the long term, but the goal of the organization is to to match resources to needs in a structural way. So if we can, well, there is something that if we can do this research and finding out which stakeholders in what level can collaborate with other stakeholders, then there should also become clear where is enough money to support the organization and where is enough money under what conditions to support these projects. And especially in the corporate field, there is a lot of potential. There are small organizations, there are small businesses that would like to support a small project, but there are all very big global organizations that would like to support more. But how would it be possible to organize this well, in our idea potential, how to organize this in a way that they can always find each other in a very simple way, and they get exposure or they get their resources, etc. But there should be something, because both sides are huge. There is, from the corporate side, there is huge amounts of money and also willingness to support. And on the other side, there is a huge demand. There are many architectural aspirations globally, but they cannot find each other very easily. This is what we've done until now on a small scale, but it should be possible to make this.
That's in theory.
Yeah, why not?
But what I want to say is that I'm actually a very practical learning by doing person. So I think what Sarah just said, we have a great opportunity the year ahead. As actually I talked to some of you know that we are going to embark on this. In the past few months, we call it On the Move, but now we just call it local events. So we have ambassadors, whether they are already like Nicholas in Malaysia, but we also have ambassadors that will go somewhere for a substantial amount of time. Like Anna is going to India for 1 month. Some people go for 2-3 months. We are doing this matchmaking, and also we are mobilizing local events. And I'm not aiming for too many. Let's say in the coming time, if we can mobilize 2 local events, so that's something we can discuss further, Carly, in Kenya. And corporate, they have their headquarters and they have many local branches. So we just discussed, right, with Hilti Foundation. Very good tip. He said, actually, many local branches, they operate quite independently. So if you are in India, you want to approach their local branch in India, you cannot do it here. You have to do it there. But there are also many local competitions, local NGOs. So these are challenges, but only when we do it, we will discover what are the challenges and what are our opportunities. So we need some time. Actually, every new program, every new activity, we need time to prove, and all the structure, even to have this structure of the volunteering board members, we also need some time. But after 2 Global Challenge programs, I'm so happy to see some of you keep coming back. And so it's not us only to ask, Valentina, can you do that? And Nicholas, can you do that? We share updates with you. I think sometimes you might have to play a proactive role and saying that, hey, there's an opportunity here, maybe I can connect you. And Shiraz is raising hand. I think Shiraz is also trying to play such a role, saying, hey, there's something here, something there. Would you like to connect?
If I may, and this is actually a question to all of y'all. So unfortunately, I am not that well schooled on architecture as a whole. Nevertheless, I do have quite a bit of a background in the corporate world, and it's also the world that I personally feel most comfortable in. For the past 2 days, actually, yesterday, the day before yesterday, I was at a quite interesting summit with some major corporations And I thought of you in the meantime. I saw a name I recognized, like, wait, let me send you a text. But how would all of you actually recommend me to then, because essentially I think it will be more as a business developer role I can fill in. Most headquarters are moving to the Middle East anyways. And I meet them at these places. So how would y'all, I need to be more hands-on. That's basically it. So how would all of you advise me to approach them and also state the mission and vision without sounding too salesy, as Jack said? If anybody of y'all have tips to do that, please let me know, because I meet too many people at crazy times with interesting stories and way too much money that should be normal.
Before people feedback, and some of you, please, maybe you can think about it and feedback to Shiraz via email or in whatever way. Here are really great people with some great ideas. I'm sure from my side, we have to watch the time because our next meeting is starting soon. I really think, Shiraz, you do need to have a package that we should provide you first. Very short statement, a nice video, a few, slides or presentations that you can always refer to. That might help. That's my immediate response. We provided you already materials, but I think again they are less structured. But as you already slowly understand how we work as an organization, we are quite informal and we know where we are going to. We're not shooting in all directions. We have a very clear direction, but on the way, we just take time to experiment and to fine-tune our ideas and messaging. And it takes time because we are not telling a very simple story. We want to change something, and it's not a small thing, it's quite big. But upon your request, I will try to, work with you to have a good package for you.
No. To repeat what you said, indeed, I remember, was it Slack? I've received some material through Slack. So maybe it's the idea that we can just ping pong go over it again, for you to ensure that I know the story quite well and I'm able to represent y'all in a formal way, in a good way. And at the same time, also for me to give myself the same confirmation, because again, I have these meetings every day. I go to the bigger developers every day. It would be crazy to work with developers that build the next highest tower in the world and not just shake them a hand and like, hey, besides this multi-billion investment that you're building right now, what about doing something for the world? It would be a
true.
Yes, Jack, please.
Sorry, just very quickly. I mean, in that context, Shiraz, I think it's a very valid point because, where those buildings are being built anyway. But given the condition or premise that they're being built, could we increase value for good through our roles? Because we do live in Tango systems. There's a system I figured out in Google Workspace, which is where if you have a mid-level business package, you can use mail merge with an Excel, where you can mass send personalized or individualized emails through attaching a Google Sheet to it. So it'll avoid a single point of failure where, if somebody sends an email, you can't get to it straight away, nothing happens with that business relationship. And that's something I can have a follow-up meeting with yourself and anyone who's interested in how to do that, because for a previous project, I was able to send 1,000 emails in one click because I taught myself how to do that. And maybe it's something about the website, which is in terms of decentralization, holacracy. There could be a hidden page in the website that you have a QR code or a link. So when you're at summits, it's very ephemeral. You're in the same place at the same time and you disappear. You may never meet again until you exchange contacts, and you have to keep the communication going. That's where one person is more limited. But if you had a link where if they're interested in corporate social responsibility pathways, They just put their details into a Google form. It'll go into an Excel at the back end for architecture and development, and we can use that Excel or mailing list to mass send the emails later when the time is right. It's a much more light touch. It's like 20% of input creates 80% of output in the business relationship terms, and it's something that could be used in parallel for universities also. But you know, I appreciate we're running out of time, and
No, but
I
is
also
that,
have a call at 4.
but what you say is that
think-
also this
yeah.
CRM, this customer relationship management system, is that the same CRM solution you're talking about?
No, it's more CSR, corporate social responsibility.
Oh,
So in a business.
CRM.
Oh yeah, but I'm not immediately familiar with that, so I couldn't speak to it. But maybe there is an overlap. But I'm just thinking in the digital terms of having less energy required for every action. There's a value in the digital because it can make it even more inclusive. So we can still keep doing what we're doing, but we can do more. And the website would allow us to do that.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely record this.
So yeah, I can follow up soon with anyone who is interested and
Definitely.
do a screen
Yeah.
recording or a walkthrough on how to do the mail merge.
I will share the recording, and as of course, some of you, I will have more conversations, but please take notes today and let us know also what kind of role you would like to play. I think you come back to us, meaning that somewhere you're interested, and so many people, I really don't know where is exact your interest area. So you also have to come back to me.
Yeah, but it's also nice if you could just drop some messages, maybe in the document, some suggestions or questions or whatever. For us, it's important to align a little bit more our visions, but also our ambitions, and yeah, take you along with that.
Maybe I'm wrong, but the Google Doc isn't allowing me to edit or comment.
That's
It's just
correct.
you on it, but
That's correct.
yeah. So I couldn't leave comments in that, but maybe another one if you can share. We can
It's short,
we can
Jack.
comment on that one. Yeah.
Not too long, huh?
Okay. No promises.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
We're going to make it shareable documents. So you can come in and also just write us emails whenever it's possible for you.
And take in consideration, this is version 1.0, so we have a long way to go and develop this further.
But it's going to become that shared document that we once discussed.
Glad
Yeah.
to be part of it. Thanks so much. Thanks for
Thank
the
you
update.
too. Thank you.
Great to see everyone.
Bree,
Thank you all.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you
Bye,
soon.
everyone.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.